أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه العزيز: ألف لام ميم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون. قال الله عز وجل في شان حبيبه مخبرا وآمرا: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله. The infinite mercy and grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is descending upon us all here in the days and nights of Ramadan. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us life, for giving us the opportunity, for blessing us with Iman, and may we all come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these blessed days and nights of Ramadan, and also be able to truly follow sincerely in the footsteps of the Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Yesterday we talked about the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam's encounter with the Quraysh and how they were distorting the message that he came with, and how they were ridiculing the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, and then they finally resorted to attacking the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So these are the three things that the Quraysh did. This is what was their offensive to the Prophet ﷺ and the message that he came with. And they did not just stop at the Prophet ﷺ, but they also used all of these things on the companions. May Allah be pleased with them all. And we shared the various examples of the trials and the hardships of the companions. May Allah be pleased with them. And we see the sacrifices that they made for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So today we carry on after the 6th year of the message. So we've been going in chronology of how the Prophet ﷺ was born, and how he was as a young child, and then where he moved, and who he moved to and with, and then how he developed through his youth, through his adulthood, and when he was married, and then just 2 years before marriage, and how the revelation was about to begin, and 6 months before revelation, and then the first week after revelation, and the first 3 years after revelation, and the first 6 years. Now inshallah we will continue with the 6 years on. So today inshallah we will talk about Arqam, and this is a very important and integral part to Islam, and this is a place where Muslims were able to find a place to recoup, a place to sit down together, a place to talk to each other, a place to strengthen themselves, and also a place to train each other as well. So this was the training center for Islam, because at that time there was no masjid. Like obviously there was the Kaaba which was there, but there was no masjid like the masjid that we have. There was no real community center at that point. So Darul Arqam was a very, very integral part for the Muslims, and inshallah we will also discuss the influence that it had on the Muslims, and also we'll discuss that the next step the Quraysh took. So first one, it was the distorting and then the ridiculing the Prophet ﷺ and physically attacking, and then we will see today inshallah how they changed their tactics. So when the first three things failed, then naturally your enemy will try something different, something new, and this is what the Quraysh did to the Prophet ﷺ and to the Muslims at that time. And it's important for us to learn from these traits, from the traits of the enemies, from the tactics of the enemies, because these are the things that they use even today as well. They will distort your message, distort the message of Islam in the media, and say, look at these terrorists, look at these Muslims, and the ridicule people, the ridicule personalities, and the imams and the shuyukh and these people of authority, and they will physically attack Islam as well. So these are the same things that your enemies will do throughout time. We need to make sure that we are steadfast and firm, and we know how to react positively and how to remain on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So throughout the lectures that we've studied up until now, one thing which is prevalent and which continues throughout the years of revelation is that the Sahaba Ikram, Prophet ﷺ, is firm, is extremely firm, and he's steadfast. in spite of all of these things that he is facing, while he is on haqq, and haqq will always overcome batil, will always overcome false, will always overcome the falsities of this dunya. And this is something that we need to always try to remain in as well. That you may come across people who will show you the easy way to success, give you ways to manipulate the system, and do so many things to find success in this dunya, but this is all batil, and the way that as quickly as it comes, that is as quickly as it will go as well. But if you remain on haqq and such, even though you may achieve something in the long term, and it may take many, many years for you to achieve that, it will remain with you as well. So if you are Muslims in this month of Ramadan, really, really good, and you've changed and you've become instant Muslims, then outside the month of Ramadan, you will go back to your old ways as well. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you Rajab and Sha'ban to slowly come into and build upon your iman and your faith. And after Ramadan, you don't just go back to your old ways as well. So the quickest change also takes you back to your old ways as well. However, slow and gradual change remains with you because it becomes part of your fitr, part of your habitat as well. So the main thing I want to remind you of is always remain on the haqq and such. And this will take you your lifetime. Your lifetime for you to remain upon it, and that truth will always overcome that which is bad and that which is false. And we see this from the life of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. So they are faced with all of these tortures, they are faced with all of these problems and challenges, but they remain calm. They remain calm and they remain composed as well. And this is an important thing for us to consider. And the three main culprits, i.e. the three main torturers at that time who were committing all of these bad things, their name was Al-As ibn Wa'id. He was one of the main culprits who was committing and perpetrating all of these evil acts and deeds against the Sahaba Ikram. The second man, his name was Al-Walid ibn Mughira, and the third man, as you know, was the one and only, was Abu Jahl. So these are the three main men who were doing all of the bad things and committing all of the sins and all of the injustices against the Sahaba Ikram and against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The reason why I wanted to share with you these three names of Al-As ibn Wa'id, Al-Walid ibn Mughira, and Abu Jahl is because these people were the ones who denied and rejected the Prophet ﷺ's message purely based on financial interests. So they had this enmity and animosity towards the Prophet ﷺ. And similarly, in our lifetime, we may approach somebody. You may approach somebody's father, you may approach somebody of authority, somebody who's in the community, in society, and you approach them with a message, and they will reject you, they will oppose you, and they will be against you. But that doesn't mean that you start hating their family as well. And I'll come to why I'm saying that. So you may oppose me, Waqar may oppose me, Waqas may oppose me, Saeed may oppose me, somebody may oppose me individually. But just because they have opposed me doesn't mean that I now completely stop interacting with the rest of his family. Then I put a barrier between myself and him. You don't think like that. It's very important. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ didn't treat the sons of all of these three men. He didn't treat any of their sons any differently. Whatever their father did and the deeds that their father did, that was between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will be punished for their deeds. But the Prophet ﷺ remained in contact with the sons of all of these people. And look at what happened, that these three men, they never accepted Islam. And they did a huge amount of injustices to Islam. However, their sons became the greatest of Muslims. So just because somebody may oppose you, somebody directly may oppose you, doesn't mean you stop. You still carry on because their sons may accept, their daughters may accept, their cousins may accept. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ was trying to teach them. Persevere. Remain steadfast, remain firm, and carry on, irrespective of what they did. So, Al-As ibn Wa'id, his son, Amr ibn As, he became a great Sahabi of the Prophet ﷺ. He was the one who conquered Egypt. He was a great conqueror of Egypt, and Amr ibn As. Similarly, Khalid ibn Walid. Everybody knows the name of the great Khalid ibn Walid. He was the son of Walid ibn Mughira. That same man, the same father who used to torture the Prophet ﷺ and the companions. Look at his son and what he became and how he defended Islam. Similarly, Abu Jahl, look at his son, Ikrimah ibn Jahl. He became one of the greatest supporters of Islam, the greatest protectors of the Prophet ﷺ. So just because you may have opposition doesn't mean you reject and deny the entire family and everything else that they stand for. Just because somebody may still carry on and persist, because their sons may receive the message, their daughters may receive the message, the family members may receive the message, and then they will do a huge amount for Islam, just the way that these three men, their sons became the greatest of supporters and protectors for Islam as well. So never desist, never lose hope and lose faith, but carry on with your message, because you are an haqq, and it will penetrate. If not that man in front of you, it will penetrate the person behind him, maybe his son, maybe their daughter, maybe the mother, maybe somebody else. But carry on and persist and remain firm. But if you just approach somebody and they reject you, you might just say, "Chalo, what if I'm No, carrying on, remain firm. Change takes time. It takes time for it to penetrate into their heart, just the way it did with their sons, and look at the greatness that they achieved, those companions. So the companions from the 6th year onwards, because we've learned 3 to 6 years yesterday, today inshallah we will do the 6 years onwards after Revelation. So the companions, they have been tortured, they have been abused, their characters have been maligned, they have been attacked. All these different forms of attacks have occurred to the companions. So they've been humiliated, and they've been tortured, and they've witnessed murder. All of these things have happened to them. So what does the Prophet ﷺ do? He comes up with a very, very innovative concept. He comes up with a very, very positive approach for him to rejuvenate the iman of all the Sahaba Ikram, to strengthen them, to protect them, and also to give them a place where they can come together and learn more skills. When somebody attacks you, you have to regroup. You have to go back and say, how can I strengthen myself? How can I protect myself? And even your morale as well, it goes down. If somebody's beating the living daylights out of you, and then there's only so many times you can stand back up before you finally fall down. So the Prophet ﷺ, he understands the psychological warfare that's taking place, and the morale of the Sahaba Ikram, and all of the physical things that are happening. So he wants to strengthen their faith. He wants to lift their spirits, strengthen their resolve. He wants to encourage their unity, and he wants to provide them with a safe haven, and provide them with that support. So this is where the establishment of Dar al-Arqam comes together. Dar al-Arqam was that place where the Prophet ﷺ gathered the Sahaba, gathered the troops, gathered his friends, to come together, to sit together, to support each other, to say, "Chalo, it doesn't matter, they did this to me, it's worse than that, but I got through it," and to support each other physically, to support each other morally, to strengthen their iman and their resolve and their unity as well. So for 3 years, the Prophet ﷺ gathered the Sahaba Ikram in this very place, Dar al-Arqam, this very center, this very home, and it became the training center. Not just the training center in forms of jihad, no, not that training center, the spiritual training center, the mental training center, the training center where people would unite together and because for a cause, for a purpose, they would be together and strengthen their iman. This was that place. And this place was no ordinary place. This was the place, and this was the property and the home of Arqam. And this is why it takes the name Dar al-Arqam, the property, the home, and the place of Arqam. This was that boy's name. And he was only 17 years of age. 17 years of age, and he donated, or rather he reserved his home solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that the Sahaba could come together and they could sit there in a place which was a safe haven, would be there for them, where they could sit together and learn and study and strengthen each other's iman. This is what he gave for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is how he sacrificed whatever he had for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to protect Islam and to protect the Muslims as well. And this very place as well, Dar al-Arqam, the actual place where the place where it's situated in, was very, very tactical for the Prophet ﷺ to choose. Prophet could have told all the Sahaba, let's gather around the Kaaba and every day we'll have a jalsa here, we'll have a julus here, we'll have our sessions here. No, he didn't choose that because he knew the Quraysh, the people would attack them. So he chose this place, the house of Dar al-Arqam, because it was in the center of his tribe. So the Prophet would know that the tribe of Arqam, they would protect the Prophet ﷺ, and it was in the center of the tribe, so they would have all the support as well and protection from all the areas as well. So whenever you have a place, you have a community center, you have a masjid, it's very, very important for you to make sure that the place that you locate is important. It's very, very important. Just like you have the castles, they used to be on top of the hills. They used to be in certain places where they could see their enemy and they would protect themselves. Similarly, wherever you have a center or a masjid, you need to make sure that you have the support around you and you don't have people who are going to oppose you and people who are going to attack you all the time. So the Prophet ﷺ chooses this place out of all of the places. Could have chosen the house of Sayyidina Umar. Who would come and dare approach the house of Umar? The Prophet could have chosen the house of Abu Bakr. Could have chosen so many houses. But he chose this house by one, to strengthen the resolve of the Muslims, because it was a good and safe place, and the other, because he was a young Sahabi, he was a young companion, and people would come flocking to that. Because you go to your friends, you don't go to a Buddha's house, you'd rather go to somebody who's Jawan, and you go, yeah, he's a cool house, he's a cool dude, let's go there. So the Prophet understands all of these things, and this is why he chose this particular place for the training center, to train Muslims, to bring them together for that essential training, for that they will remain steadfast. And this is the place where the Sahaba Ikram, they learn all of their core skills. And this is where they excel in their iman, in their faith, in their resolve with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And those Sahaba Ikram, and I'll give you a beautiful example, that those Sahaba Ikram who did not attend the house of Dar al-Arqam, and did not attend this training center, when the time for battles came, many Sahaba Ikram would run away, or out of fear, because they did not have the steadfastness and the resolve. However, those people who were with the Prophet ﷺ, and they attended this training center, and they sat with the Sahaba Ikram, when the battles did come, they did not flinch, they did not turn away, they did not hesitate whatsoever, because they were trained spiritually and physically, they were trained by the Prophet ﷺ. So whenever you do find masajid, you do find centers, and they are there open for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they're trying to teach you something. They try to teach you how to strengthen your iman. They try to increase your unity in the community. They try to teach you about Allah, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Don't walk away from these places, because if you walk away from here today, when the time comes for you to stand up, then that is the time when you will be running away again, because you did not come for the training, the spiritual training, the physical training, and the mental training, the way that the Sahaba Ikram did, and they remained steadfast. And those who didn't attend, when the time did come, then they ran away. So make sure when you have an opportunity to learn about your deen, whether it's in Ramadan, outside of Ramadan, on the weekend, wherever you have an opportunity and somebody is doing something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, attend those places, attend those gatherings, because they will strengthen your iman. Even though you may remember just one thing from the hour's lecture that I give you, that one thing, if you keep it with you, it will give you that extra strength, to give you that extra resolve to get through a particular situation. So the Prophet ﷺ in this place, Dar al-Arqam, he's training the Sahaba Ikram. What about the lessons that he's doing? He's trying to create and develop team spirit. You go to any center, any business, and they all try to get people together, they go for meals together, they go to all these places. Why? To create this team spirit so everybody can work together. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ is trying to do, build that team spirit. He's trying to create that brotherhood as well. Because these people are from different tribes, and before that they used to fight with each other, kill each other, argue with each other. The Prophet ﷺ trying to bring them together in brotherhood, in the ties of brotherhood. And he's trying to teach them to love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't matter what your race is, what your color is, what your background is, what your status is. Love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the lessons that the Prophet ﷺ is teaching. Trying to purify their heart, remove any blemishes, remove any insecurities, whatever they may have, purifying their heart. He's striving towards getting them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to love each other, and to love their family members, and to love their community, and also to get a better understanding of the community and the society and the world that they're living in. So these are the core messages that the Prophet ﷺ is teaching. Not how to wield a sword, not how to take a spear, not how to physically fight. No, all of these are the lessons that the Prophet ﷺ was teaching them. And these are the things that we lack in this day and age. We lack in our homes, we lack amongst our brothers, we lack in our centers, in our masajid. And this is what we need to encourage. We come together for the sake of Allah. We come together for brotherhood, for unity, to strengthen our resolve as well. So how did the Prophet ﷺ increase their team spirit? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah Al-Asr, he mentioned, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. So through Surah Al-Asr, Prophet ﷺ is encouraging them to work together, because everybody else is in loss except for those people who encourage each other to do good. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. This is what the Prophet is trying to create, a team spirit, like encourage each other, help each other, encourage each other to do good, encourage each other to remain on the right path, encourage each other to speak the truth. Also, the Prophet uses the surah. So how do we use the surah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us? We just read them because we have to read them, and that's it. We bang our heads and then we run out of the masjid. But these surahs meant something to the Sahaba Ikram. They meant something to the Prophet ﷺ, and he used this for team building, for team spirit. Similarly, we need to make sure that we connect with the Quran and we learn something from it as well. The way the Prophet ﷺ tried to teach the Sahaba Ikram. From Surah Al-Rum, the Prophet ﷺ was trying to teach them the importance of the worldly life. Because you can't not just cut yourself off from the dunya and say that's it, may Allah like yourself. No, you need to interact with the dunya as well. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Surah Al-Rum is trying to remind them that, this is how you need to live your life. This is how you need to triumph over the desires of this dunya and the temptations of the dunya, become stronger and persevere as well. In Surah Al-An'am, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is developing their character and their connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and bringing them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and purifying their heart. These are the things that we lack because we read the Quran because it's just the recited book. We don't try to understand the Quran or connect with the Quran the way the Sahaba Ikram did and the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing as well. Similarly, in Surah Hud, the Prophet sallallahu shares the various examples of the previous prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Musa alayhi salam, like Nuh alayhi salam, like Yusuf alayhi salam. He used all of these examples and said, look at what they went through. Look at the hardships that they had to endure. Therefore, you have to go through these things as well. And you have to be patient and you have to endure all of these things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you success the way He gave the Anbiya alayhi salam success as well. So He's connecting to the Quran. He's developing this intimate relationship with the Quran. And not just saying, hey, pardon, do something on your own. No, try to make more of the Quran the way the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam did as well. So the question that I have to ask is, what do we get from the Quran? How much connection do we have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and what lessons do we learn when we read the Quran? If we don't take any lesson from the Quran, then it is our lacking, for the answers are there. For the answers are there on how to succeed. The answers are there on how to purify your heart. The answers are there on how to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We just have to look closely enough with a sincere heart and a pure mind and eyes which are pure and eyes that want to see the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran is timeless. It is there for all times. So the Asr wasn't revealed just for the Sahaba at that time, it's revealed for us as well. So you take these surahs, understand these surahs, reflect upon the surahs the way the Prophet ﷺ did as well. So, back to Arqam. His name was Ibn Arqam and he was only 17 years of age. And he lived up until the time of Sayyidina Usman ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala. Now he didn't have anything else. He didn't have a huge amount of wealth, he didn't have a huge amount of social standing or background or influence, anything like that. This 17-year-old, what can a 17-year-old really have? He didn't have much to offer. Unlike Sayyidina Umar, Abu Bakr Siddiq, these people, they were mature and they had much more to offer to Islam. And this very, very young lad, this very, very youthful person, who's only 17 years of age, he has nothing else but he gives whatever he has for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he does waqf. He reserved his home for the training purposes of Islam, for the protection of Islam as well. So the question that I ask all my brothers and sisters, that what have you offered Islam? When you have an opportunity to do something for Islam, to provide for Islam, whatever you have, whatever capacity that you have, if you have expertise in a particular knowledge, in a particular field, whatever you're good at, whatever knowledge you have, whatever experience you have, whatever influence you have, you should always try to use it to benefit Islam, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Messenger sallallahu ta'ala wa sallam. Abu Bakr did what he could, Umar did what he could, Ali did what he could, and this young lad, 17 years of age, he did what he could, which he only had his home, and he gave that in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is that place where the Sahaba Ikram trained themselves and got closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't just think that, I'm not like Abu Bakr, I'm not like Usman, I'm not like this person or that person. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you something unique. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you something. You just need to realize what that is and use that for the sake of Islam, to protect Islam, to make Islam flourish, and to propagate Islam as well. So that's very, very important. Whether that's science, technology, experience, whatever you may have, education, give that in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're here in Darul Arqam and they're getting together and learning more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and building that brotherhood and that spirit and regaining their strength in Muslims as well. So up until now, the 6th year onwards, there was about roughly 300 Muslims now who have accepted the Deen of Islam. So remember, at the beginning it was just the Prophet ﷺ and his immediate family, 10 members increased, and Abu Bakr increased, and he brought 6 people along as well. And in the first 6 months or so, there were 60, and there were 45 people, and then he increased slowly. But in the first 6 years, there was only about 200 people, and then now, alhamdulillah, slowly, we have more than 300 people who have accepted Islam. So the Quraysh are getting even more agitated, that the numbers are increasing. We've tried to distort the message, we tried to ridicule them, we physically tormented and tortured the Sahaba Ikram and the Prophet ﷺ, but nevertheless, they're still increasing in their numbers. So then they try to figure out a different tactic. a new plan. And this is what your enemy will do even today. Just the way that the Quraysh did, just like any other enemy will do. They've tried the various things which I mentioned yesterday, distorting the message, attacking the Prophet ﷺ, and ridiculing him. So now they've tried a different plan, a different approach as well. And the three approaches that they use are, they try to negotiate with the Prophet ﷺ, and they try to give some temptation to the Prophet ﷺ, and they also try to bargain. So they try to tempt the Prophet ﷺ, they try to negotiate with the Prophet ﷺ, and then the third thing that they do is try to bargain with the Prophet ﷺ. And these are very, very important to understand. Very, very important to understand, because this is exactly what's happening even today in the world that we live in. These are the same things that are happening to us at this very moment in time throughout the world. So the first three things, which was distorting and ridiculing and attacking, after that fails, they realize that they did not, destroy the Muslims or their spirits, or they try something different. And these are the tactics that they use by tempting the Muslims, by negotiating with the Muslims, and then by bargaining the Muslims as well. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us at the beginning when I recited the verse of the Quran, Alif Lam Mim, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. That do you think, that is the insan thing, that he will just say that I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then after that he won't be tested? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely test us to see how pure our iman is, how pure our sincerity is towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and towards our faith. So that is why they were tested. They were physically tested, they were mentally tested, all these different forms. They were tested in Sahaba Ikram, and here they've been tested again by temptation. They've been tested again to see when they negotiate, do they give everything, and do they dilute their message, and do they give in to the non-Muslims, and to see the bargaining skills as well that the Prophet ﷺ had. So, what does Abu Talib do? Abu Jahl, he approaches Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, and he first and foremost, he makes two demands to the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. The first demand that he makes to Abu Talib, he says, make your nephew Muhammad retrace his message. So, retract his message. So tell him to take his message back, to take his call back. This is the first demand that Abu Jahl makes of the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. Go tell your nephew, take back his statement, take back his message. And the second demand that he makes, he says, if he's not going to take back his message and retract his statement, then you have to turn him in. Because remember, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ was protecting the Prophet ﷺ. So he said, either tell him to retract it, or you remove your protection from him, and then we'll deal with him. So Sayyidina Abu Talib at that time, he calls the Prophet ﷺ, and he tells him that Abu Jahl came, and these are the two demands that he made. And he said, because at that time, remember, Abu Talib was very, very old at that time. He was in his late 80s, and he's getting very, very old. So he said that, you must save yourself. This is what he tells his nephew, that save yourself, for I have done what I could have done, and I will try to do whatever I can do, but you must try to now save yourself. So this is the early warning that he gives to the Prophet ﷺ, that you either have to retract your message, or you have to give yourself in. These are the only two options that you have, because the Quraysh have had enough now, and they're going to do something really, really severe. But look at the firmness and the steadfastness of the Prophet ﷺ, and look at the reply and the answer of the Prophet ﷺ. He firmly replies to his uncle at that time. He says, by Allah, if they were to put the sun in my right hand, and if they put the moon in my left hand, then I will still not leave this matter, because I am doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will stay upon this path until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows something otherwise for me. This is the firm reply of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And he says this in a firm voice, but as soon as he finishes the statement, the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam starts to weep. Because he understands, how hard it is and how difficult it is. Because the pressure that he must be under, pressure that the companions were under, and the pressure that even his uncle was under. He said this very, very firm statement with dignity, with strength, and with conviction. But at the end, the Prophet ﷺ, he started crying and weeping, because he realized that look at what they're trying to do, and look at how they're trying to torture us in so many ways. But he was there, and he was firm, and he said, no, even if they give the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left hand, I will not give up. I will not give in. I will not retract my message. I will not stop for this unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires otherwise for me. This is the answer of the Prophet ﷺ. He remains balanced. He remains firm. At the same time, he shows his emotions as well. So there's no harm in us also showing our emotions. There's no harm in showing your emotion if you have been tested and tried and you must remain firm, and there's no harm in you showing your emotion. The example that I showed you is that when somebody passes away, maybe your own son may pass away, your daughter may pass away, somebody very close to your parents may pass away. There's no harm in you showing your emotion, there's no harm in you weeping, there's no harm in you crying, but at the same time you must balance that with the command and will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and then you cry and you weep, there's no harm in that as well. But if you only cry and you only weep and you don't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't remain firm, then that weakness will take you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And however, if you're completely firm in the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and don't show any emotion, then people will say, yeah, nothing affects him, he's not human anymore. So you need to have a balance, the way the Prophet ﷺ had a balance with his emotions and his feelings, and also with his firmness towards the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Abu Talib, at that time, when he sees the emotions of his nephew, because think about it, you can say something firm to your parents or to your father, and it may not move because he's arrogant, he's stubborn. They may just have that image and then they'll just ignore you. But if you say something which is firm, and then you follow that with emotions, then they will see your sincerity. Then they will see how much this affects you, and then they will know your resolve, and their heart will also connect to you as well. So this is why the Prophet was showing his emotion to his uncle. So after this, when his uncle saw his emotions, he said to the Prophet ﷺ, go back and do what you need to do, and I will be with you. I will support you. I will support you. This is the reply. At the beginning, he said, look, I can't do anything else anymore. He was almost putting his hands up and saying, look, I did what I could, and that's it, I can't do anything else. When he heard the first statement of the Prophet ﷺ, combined with the emotions of the Prophet ﷺ, it moved his heart, and it changed his heart, and he said, no, go and do what you need to do, and remain firm, and I will be with you no matter what. So this is how you can change people. You can change people with your statements, but you can also change people with your emotions as well. So you need to know how to use them effectively, the way the Prophet ﷺ did. So the first thing that the Quraysh do. So remember the three things that they did yesterday: distort the message, ridicule, and attack. And today they are doing three things again. The first thing that they do is they try to negotiate with the Prophet ﷺ. And this happens today to all our Muslim countries, to us, in our communities, in our societies as well. They come and they negotiate with the Prophet ﷺ. So the Quraysh, they choose this man, and his name was Utbah ibn Rabi. This was the man that the Quraysh chose to go and to negotiate with the Prophet ﷺ. And when they sent this man, he didn't have to go and find and seek the Prophet ﷺ, where was he hiding, things like that. No, the Prophet ﷺ, just because he had this message, he didn't move away from the community and society. He remained in the center of society. Whenever any Qurayshi wanted to find the Prophet ﷺ, he would be around the Kaaba or near the Kaaba, he would be by his home. He wasn't there in hiding and trying to protect himself constantly, bodyguards around him. No, he was there, part of the community, part of society, that here I am. If you need me, here I am. So what about he knew where to find the Prophet ﷺ, and he found him near the Kaaba. He found him near the Kaaba. So he sat with the Prophet ﷺ, and he approached the Prophet ﷺ, but look at how conniving, how clever he was, and how he approached the Prophet ﷺ, and how he began the conversation, the negotiation. And this shows you really good negotiation skills. And this is how even other countries and even other communities, they will negotiate with you and they will lead you astray. So what about Ibn Rabi? He approaches the Prophet ﷺ, and the first thing that he does, starts praising the Prophet ﷺ's lineage. Yes, he was. This is how he starts, by praising the Prophet ﷺ. And imagine somebody coming, immediately praising you or your family members, then immediately you're not on the defensive, but you start to become softer to him, that he's a good guy, and look how clever and conniving he is. So he's praising the Prophet ﷺ's lineage, and then after that, he confesses, he says, your father was great, your grandfather was great, your family's great, but then he goes, but your message, it's dividing the community. So look, praising, and then immediately getting to the point as well. That what you're doing, and the message that you have, is dividing the community, whereas your family used to bring the community together. So look at how he's beginning the negotiation skills. And then after that, he offers the Prophet ﷺ money. So praising the Prophet ﷺ, then some negative comments, and then saying, Cholo, almost making the Prophet ﷺ feel bad about himself, and saying, okay, Cholo, leave that, and then let's try to move forward, here's some money. So this is what he does. Praise the Prophet ﷺ and his lineage, then saying you've divided the community, but chalo now, let's try to make amends, I'll offer you money. This is the third thing he said. He offers the Prophet ﷺ money, then he offers the Prophet ﷺ prestige, status, a great maqam, a place and a status in Quraysh. Then he offers the Prophet ﷺ power. How much power do you want? Who do you want to control? Which tribe do you want to have control over? You can be a judge, you can do this, you can make this decision, that decision, you can do whatever you want. So he's done, look at how he's negotiating with the Prophet ﷺ, with money, with prestige, with power. And then he says you can marry any woman from any tribe, from any clan, the prettiest of any women, you can marry any woman, and however many women you want to marry. And we will also provide you with medical treatment as well, because you are injured, your companions are injured, all of these people who are following you, they're injured. So we'll give you everything. These are the negotiation skills, by praising and then by dispraising him, and then saying we'll give you power and status and prestige and wealth and women, and we'll give you health insurance and everything. So he's giving the whole package to him, the whole package to the Prophet ﷺ. And I try to think about this: money, dominion, power, health insurance, beautiful women. These are all of the things that man runs after in this dunya. We dedicate all our lives after money, after wealth, after power, after control, after women. These are all of the things. And he is trying to, invite the Prophet, trying to tempt the Prophet ﷺ with all of these things. And look at how the Prophet ﷺ he is and how he behaves. All this time, he's saying all of these things, all of these things, all of these things. The Prophet ﷺ is quiet, he's silent, he's listening very, very politely. And he waits for him to finish, and then he patiently replies, what about Ibn Rabi? He patiently replies to what about Ibn Rabi, and what a reply of the Prophet ﷺ was. And he replies with the Quran. And I want to share this with you today, even though it's 13 verses. But it's very important for us to understand the beautiful reply of the Prophet ﷺ. So he's been, all of these things he's been tempted with. I will give you this, and he's patient, he's calm, he's not tempted. How many of us would be tempted today? Today, if you're about to make a business, or you're about to make a substantial change in the community, in your society, and the councillor comes to you, the president comes to you and saying, here's some money, it's like it happens in Pakistan. You want to bring about change, and they give the dog a bone, and that's it, he goes quiet. Power, wealth, dominion, control, women, everything that you want, just be quiet, don't upset us. Prophet listens to all of these patiently, then he replies, he says, Hameen, Tanzeel min al-Rahman al-Rahim, Kitab fussilat ayatuhu Qur'anan Arabiyyan liqawmin ya'lamun, Bashiran wa Nazira, fa'alayhim absaruhum fahum la yasma'un, وقالوا قلوبنا في أكنة مما تدعونا إليه وفي آذاننا وقر من بيننا وبينك حجاب فاعمل إننا عاملون. And the Prophet ﷺ from this surah recites 13 verses. I'll just translate a few of those verses for you. He begins with Hameen. He says this is a successive sending down from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The revelation is coming from Allah, who is the all-merciful and the ever-merciful. This book has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran for the Arabs, in the Arabic Quran, and is bearing glad tidings. So the Quran has glad tidings, at the same time is a warning for those people who have veered away, who've gone away from the straight path. So these are the people who do not hear. These are the people who say that our hearts and our mind, they are closed, and we will not listen to whatever you are saying. Prophet ﷺ carries on with the verses of the Quran. But all of these verses, they completely mesmerized and took, and he was absolutely gobsmacked, he was absolutely speechless, that I offered him wealth and money and all of these things, and he replied with the Quran, which is pure. He replied with the message of the Quran, which is do good deeds, avoid evil deeds, don't do this and don't do that. These are the things that the Prophet ﷺ replied with. He was absolutely speechless and gobsmacked. And then the Prophet ﷺ was continuing with the verses, and Uqba ibn Rabi, because his heart started to be affected, he put his hand on the face of the Prophet ﷺ, because he said, whatever you are saying is the truth, and I am fearful of what you are saying. This is how the Prophet ﷺ changed his heart, just with the beautiful, eloquent words of the glorious Quran. He was not tempted at the slightest whatsoever at the power, at the wealth, the status of the women, of the insurance, everything that they provided. The Prophet ﷺ just replied with the Quran, because the Quran is enough for you. Believe me, the dunya will tempt you with so much, shaitan will tempt you with so much, the community, the civilization, the worlds, the governments will tempt you with so much. And those people who are not firm, they will sell themselves out. They will sell their deeds out as well. They will sell their own children and everything else out for the sake of all of this. But the Quran is enough for you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is enough for you. And this is how the Prophet sallallahu wa ta'ala is in reply that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is enough for me. I don't need any of these things that you are giving me, that you are providing me, that you are negotiating with me. No, I don't need any of these things, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is enough for me. This is how he replied. But how would we reply today? Imagine today you want to do something for Islam, or you want to do anything in your life, and then people come to you and then they say, take this money, take this wealth, and do all this, and just be quiet and stay on the side. Many of us would take that. We just go to the side, chalo, I'll try and do something in another way. Then we use excuses that I wanted to do this, but chalo, I'll do it this way or that way. But the reality is that we've taken that rishwa, we've taken that temptation, we've given in, and we've moved away from our purpose, from our pure goal and sincere goal. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, imagine had he taken that temptation, had he taken the wealth and the power and the dominion, all of these things, where would Islam be today? How many of us do take that temptation? And look at our hal, look at the hal of our countries, look at how corrupt they've become, because there are people who have sold not just their soul, but they've sold their countries, they've sold their communities, they've sold everything that they have for the sake of the wealth, for the sake of power, for the sake of oil, for the sake of all of these things. These are what the countries have done. So don't sell your religion. No matter what they give, no matter what they offer, all of the treasures of this dunya, are never worth one verse of the Quran. They're not worth you giving up your shahada. They're not worth you giving up following the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't ever give it up. Don't ever give it up. So look at what happens after that. So they try to negotiate. Look at how they negotiate. So Utbah ibn Rabi', he goes back to Abu Sufyan. He goes back to Abu Sufyan and look at the reply that he tells him. He said, look, I went to Muhammad and I tried to negotiate with him, and I have heard words that I have never heard before. And they are not poetry. They are not the words of a magician. They are not the words of a sorcerer. These are words that I have never heard before, and they must be divine words. And he says that I advise you and all of the leaders of Quraysh to leave Muhammad alone. He saw the haqq, he saw the reality, and he realized that this man is not after wealth. This man is not after all of these things. Many people will scream and shout on the mics and give us your votes, we'll do this, we'll do that, and we'll bring about change and everything. As soon as the money comes into their pockets, that's it. You never hear them again, you never see them again. That's it, until the next election. These are the people who sell themselves out and their countries out and their deen out as well. And this is the man, he's seen the reality. He said, I advise you, leave Muhammad alone. Because he saw the reality, he saw the haqq of the Prophet ﷺ. But as you know, the Quraysh and the tribes of Quraysh and the leaders of Quraysh, they rejected the advice of Utbah ibn Rabi', and they said, you've been mesmerized by him, you're under his spell. He put a spell on you, and you're under his spell, and you're only saying what he wants you to say, therefore we will not take your advice. Therefore we will not take your advice. So they rejected him and they said, this is what they said for Utbah ibn Rabi'. So try to ponder this. How many times have you been offered to shut your mouth? How many times have you been offered to look the other way? How many times have you been tempted by so many things of the dunya, and for the sake of your deen, you've bartered your deen away, you've bartered your iman away, you've sold your iman away, your deen away, for the sake of all these things. Never ever sell these things. Never sell your iman, never sell your deen, never sell your religion for anything, no matter how much wealth, how much power, how much status, how much control they give you. Never ever, because the Prophet ﷺ did it, and we should not forget the actions and the statements of the Prophet ﷺ. So this was the first thing, remember? The negotiation, look at how they negotiated. So then the Quraysh, they gathered together again, and the negotiations have failed. Our mocking has failed, ridicule has failed, attacking has failed, and the negotiations have failed as well. Let's get together and let's do something else. So they had a parliament meeting. So they came together because obviously the Prophet had Arqam and then Nadwa, which is where all of the Quraysh people, the leaders of Quraysh, the 7 leaders of Quraysh, they used to get together. This was their parliament, the 7 people in Nadwa. And they used to sit together and they stuck together and thought, how can we now try to get rid of this message and try to get rid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent a message to the Dar al-Nadwa. He sent a message to the leaders of Quraysh, and he said, I have not come to take your money. Look at the firmness of the Prophet ﷺ. I have not come to take your money, and neither have I come to become a leader, and neither do I want dominion, i.e. control over you. I have only come to deliver a message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to you, who is the Lord of all of the worlds. If you accept then you'll be blessed in this dunya and you'll be blessed in the hereafter. However, if you refuse, then I will be patient until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees between you and I. So this is the firm statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No matter what you say, what you give, what you offer, how you negotiate, I'm not here for any of these things. I'm only here for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm only here to deliver a message, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will decide and decree between who is right and who is wrong. I'm here to do my job. We are all here sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do a job, to stay on the path of righteousness, to stay on the path of uprightness, to stay on the path of haqq, to always do that which is right and to avoid that which is evil, to fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to follow the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. No matter what the dunya offers, no matter what they say, what they give, don't move away from your message, don't move away from your purpose, which is to worship and recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So look at his steadfastness. Look at his steadfastness and his firmness and the answer that he gave to the negotiations that they were trying to give to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we learn the true importance of truth, of faith, of persistence, and also of emotion and kindness as well. We also learn how to negotiate with people and how to make sure that you maintain your message and not dilute your message or to give in your message as well just because of power or wealth or anything else like that. And similarly, we learn the importance of training and developing ourselves the way the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did with the Sahaba Ikram. So the first attack of their new plan was negotiation. And the second attack that they do is try to bargain with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So give and take, as they say. Give and take, compromise. So they failed in their mocking, in their ridiculing, in their attacking, and now they failed in their negotiations. So that now they say, give and take, let's try to compromise and bargain. So the Quraysh, the leaders of the Quraysh, Sufyan and Jamal and the other people, they come to the Prophet ﷺ and they say, Chalo, what we'll do is we'll worship your God for one day, and then you can worship our gods for one day. So this is the negotiation now. They come to the next bit. And this happens in our life as well, that they say, slowly, they'll say, Chalo, the people in our communities as well, they try to negotiate with you. Chalo, don't pray your Jummah, but you can do Eid once a year, you can do this, you can do that. They try to negotiate and take away the core things of your deen. But we'll discuss that later. But anyway, the point is, they call the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a bargain, with a compromise. We'll worship your God for one day, and then you can come and worship our God for one day. So this is the compromise that they wanted to make the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verse of the Quran, which is قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. That I said to the disbelievers that I will never worship what you believe, وَلَا تُعَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. Neither will you ever worship what I worship. And at the end of the verse, لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينِ. You have your religion and I have my religion. So there is no compromise in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no compromise in the deen. There is no compromise in following the Quran. Many people in America and other countries, they have made new versions of the Quran. They have taken verses out of the Quran and say, this is the updated version. This is the version that you need to follow. They have taken verses out of the Quran and say, this is the version. This is the new Quran. This is the amended Quran. No, there is no compromise in the Quran. There is no compromise in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the deen of Islam. There are other things which are flexible in the deen, but these core things like following the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, obedience to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, following the Quran and Sunnah, there is no compromise in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or in the following of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here they are trying to negotiate and compromise with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bargaining, there is no bargaining in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you also remember as well, when the time comes for you and you have to make a choice, don't compromise, don't give in, and don't bargain and sell away your deen, sell away your iman for the sake of something, or for the sake of we'll get along a bit better, or we'll have better relationships, or we'll stop fighting and arguing. No, his haqq is haqq, and it must remain as haqq. You should not compromise with that which is haqq and join that or mix it with that which is batil. So this is what they do. But then look at how they carry on with their bargaining. So the first thing is that we'll worship your God for one day, then you worship your God, our gods for one day. And then they carry on and they say the further bargains, which are compromises, which are, we will accept your deen, we will accept your message. Look at what they're saying now. So the leaders of Quraysh, they're saying, we will accept your message, but, there's always a but what you have to do is take all of your slaves, the slaves that accepted Islam, all of the poor people, all the people from a low social background and lower class, you have to take all of these poor people away because we are elite people. We are people of prestige. We are people of honor, and therefore we can't have the same message as Bilal. We can't have the same message of Zayd. We can't have the same message of these people and these slaves. No, we are prestige, we are elite, and therefore this religion must become elite as well. The Prophet ﷺ did not compromise. Imagine getting the leaders of Quraysh on side, accepting Islam would have been a huge bonus for Islam. But had he done that and compromised the iman of Bilal, what would Islam be today? Compromised the iman of Zayd and other people, it wouldn't be the same. The Prophet ﷺ said, no, there is no compromise in the deen because the deen is for everybody. There is no elitism in the deen. There is no hierarchy in the deen. Everybody is equal before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the second bargaining chip that you want, the second compromise that you want me to have, by removing all of the poor people and all of the weak people and all the people of lower backgrounds and just have this religion for the elite people, I will not bargain. I will not compromise again. I will not keep them out of the deen. This is what they wanted the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala to do. And then their demands increased as well. Then they said, Chalo, you won't do that, then to prove your prophethood, to prove your nubuwwah, and to prove your message, tell Allah to send a river down from the heavens, tell Allah to do this, tell Allah to send an angel, tell Allah to do this, tell Allah to do that. The Prophet ﷺ knew that this was just a ruse, this was just a bahana. Had they wanted to accept, they would have accepted ages ago. They saw the reality, they saw the haqiqat, they knew the character of the Prophet ﷺ, and this negotiation, this bargaining was futile, was useless, because they never were going to accept anyway. So the Prophet ﷺ just ignored him and said, no, you can carry on with that as well. So these are the things that they did. These are the things that they did. They tried to negotiate with the Prophet ﷺ. They tried to compromise and bargain with the Prophet ﷺ. And they tried to tempt the Prophet ﷺ. And these are the things that you will find in your life as well. You will be tempted by women. You will be tempted by a woman to leave your deen. Many Muslim brothers that I know who no longer Muslims, they have left the religion for the sake of a woman. Because she's a Christian or she's a Jew or she's somebody else, and they said, look, I'm not going to marry you until you leave your religion. And people have done that for the sake of a woman, for the sake of wealth, for the sake of power, for the sake of control. They have done that. Never give in to temptation and give away your deen or give away your iman for the sake of any of these things. Never give in to negotiations that compromise your deen. Never bargain your deen away from anything. This is exactly what the Jews do that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran. They used to sell off the verses. They used to sell off the verses, change the verses, manipulate the verses, and give it to other people and say, look, you're exempt from this, you don't have to pay your taxes, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that. But don't ever sell your deen, don't ever compromise on your deen, on the verses of the Quran, on following the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, because this is how they will break you, this is how they will divide you, and this is how they will dilute you. So the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, he strengthened the Muslims, strengthen their resolve, strengthen their iman, unite them together, and bring them closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the time did come from temptation, they never gave in to temptation. When the time did come for negotiation, they never gave in to the negotiation, and they never compromised for the deen, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I urge you all, brothers and sisters, don't give in to temptation, don't give in to those negotiations or those compromises which compromise your iman, which compromise the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the deen of Islam. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll carry on with the further developments.